Hello, good afternoon. Today is the 24th of March, 2026, and I thought I might give a quick and early update, as well as continue on my last parts of the video. Obviously, um, this video won't cover everything, but we will go back to the parts that we're missing. So, how are you? How you doing? Joey Triviani. I hope everybody's well. I hope you're well. I hope the new month treated you well. As we have officially entered spring, I hope the spring season treats you well. New beginnings, fresh starts, and blossoming of good things. So, what's new with me? Well, I'm doing well, and I'm just carrying on as normal. I've noticed some changes with me. At the beginning of the year, the beginning of the year in January, I did say I felt like this year would be a good year, and this year's living up to that word. I noticed like sometime last week, like a heaviness on me had lifted because a lot of the things that I was worrying about were dealt with or are being dealt with. So, for one, my weight. I am gradually losing weight, but not as quick as I would want to, but there is progress, and that is a weight off my mind. Because other than weight, starting in 2025, the other thing that used to bother me or used to worry me or cause anxiety was the fact that I'm growing in age, and there's a point where I want to have children. But when I started like hunching over and just being unwell weight-wise or physically, that was an anxiety issue for me, an anxiety point. Because I was like, I want to have kids, I want to have children, but there is no way at this state where I'm at, even right now, that would be possible. Because I could barely manage my own weight, and my back was always killing me because of the weight that accumulated on my lower back. I think that was it. But overall, with just my body weight, and that used to cause me a lot of anxiety last year. But now that I'm dealing with the whole weight issue, that load is off my shoulders, and I just have to put in the effort and be consistent and be at a point where I don't know. It could take a year because it's slow, but the slower it takes to lose weight, the more you put it off. I mean, the more permanent the results are, other than a rushed weight loss which will come back. But yeah, that used to be something that bothered me a lot. And even my relationship with food has improved dramatically because I don't have to worry about what the scale says when I eat a meal. And the fact that I'm losing weight and not worrying about what I'm eating. I am eating a healthy vegan diet, but I am eating meat when I have prayer during like twice a month. That's the only time I eat meat. I eat lamb. It's just a tradition that I'm incorporating into my life between me and the Lord. Usually when I spend time with him, like 2 dedicated times during the month, could be in the middle of the month and then it seeps into the next month, or it could be in the month depending on the day. So basically, I make a meal of lamb. It's like communion, but not quite, of lamb. And I dedicate myself to the Lord every month as his child and he my God. And it's like we have dinner together. specifically designated for a specific day. And I've noticed that in my spirit, I'm a lot happier. I know we spend time with God like every day in prayer, like in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, but there's just like a dinner date, but also a dedication of myself to Him every month. That just feels like a purging to me. And I feel like it's something that I will incorporate for the long term in my life. I mean, we do have Holy Communion, but that's like just something that, a tradition that I've started on my own, and hopefully it blossoms into something in the future for my family. And yeah, and speaking of family, I did say I want a boyfriend, and that still stands. But like me and my mother were talking about, well, I brought up the subject of how churches tell single people who are not married yet how they should live their life, or they give them advice on their single season. And one thing I mentioned to my mother, she was just listening, because sometimes I ramble on, was the fact that they say, you know, you're supposed to be joyful in your single season. You're supposed to be happy and think of it as building character. And yeah, that's true. But sometimes the way they portray it is like it's a one system fits all. And I was thinking there was a point where I was extremely lonely, extremely depressed. And that advice would have done more damage than good. That's why you have to use wisdom in the way that you talk to people and the advice that you give. You can't be giving every single person within the church or within your congregation the same advice. There are different stages in life, and mentally or emotionally or psychologically dealing with different stuff. There should be a counselor within the church to help deal with that, rather than some churches have counselors, others don't. They just sing the same song. And it ticked me off, because I was like, what if I'm having severe depression? What if I'm having severe anxiety about the future, and all I'm getting is the same old song? That you're supposed to be strong, you're supposed to overcome this, blah, blah, blah. It won't make it go away. Some people are lucky enough to have gone or lived that lifestyle of like waiting in singledom and being happy and just living the way that the church advises them to, and found their spouse or their mate or their husbands or their wives. But it doesn't mean it works for everybody. There are some people who are 40, 50 still waiting because someone told them, you know, you have to be patient, you have to wait. God won't send like your husband in a spaceship and drop him down in your lap. Sometimes he does. Don't know why, but you won't send him in your lap. You also have to be proactive as well. And I don't know how to be that proactive. I just have to, you know, live life. They say, be walking in your calling. I just live life. You know, it will happen when it happens, but also like socialize. But then again, when you're older, maybe that's why they have dating apps. I don't know. But point being, all I know is everybody has their own care plan. Everyone has their own story that doesn't follow the linear of what, you know, sometimes the advice that we're given in churches. And the church should also make events for people who are single to mingle, and also bring people in. Not isolate yourselves. Do not be yoked with the people of the world or whatever. But the Bible, which verse is it? Has like a verse that says, if you're married to an unbeliever, you are literally their covering. So when people say, you know, don't marry an unbelieving man, because some of them do, some of the churches emphasize that you have to find a God-fearing man to make life easy. But if God has ordained that person to find an atheist or whatever, who are you to dictate their life path? Because there's some churches that are extra. And oh my God, speaking of weird churches, there was this church that was like a full-on cult. They recruited me looking all innocent and whatever. But when I delved into their services, it felt like a chore, it felt like torment, and it felt like it was a job. I didn't enjoy going to church. I didn't enjoy their services. And frankly, when it was movie night, it was like listening to clones. Oh, hey, birdie. Clones of the same person. I was like, nah. All of you sound the same. You talk the same. You think the same. I don't know. It's like a hive mind. That is how they sounded. It was like, Even their prayer sessions was like a long-winded thing that started from 5 o'clock and then ended at 11 o'clock. It was like taking up And this would be maybe like 3 times a week or something, and they'd expect you to attend. But then again, like it felt like a chore, and there was this spirit that made it that you couldn't say no. I felt like I had to people please in order to feel accepted, and it was such a chore. I hated it. I was fine when I didn't have a congregation, like a peoples to be with, but that church was a full-fledged cult and a show too. Because every time I'd be watching service, it was just like a performance. And when they were praying in tongues, they were praying in tongues for I don't know how many hours. There's nothing wrong with praying in tongues, but when they're just going on in tongues without English word, like understandable words, then there's something wrong. Because you're supposed to also to make sure people understand what you're saying in intervals of what prayers that are understandable. What if there was a person who was like new to the church and they don't know what is going on, but you're going on in tongues and tongues? They would obviously be like put off. They're like, what is going on? You have to be like find a balance, and it went on forever. There is like praying in tongues and being filled with the Holy Spirit, and being passionate, and there's just going on and on and on like a farce. The entire system was like a weird cult, and I was like, nah. At first I was like, yay, church friends, because I thought they were like a youth church of young people, led by young people. But the main head church was led by a pastor or something, but their branch was led by young people. And that was a scary thing. And they approached me looking all normal, but nah, once you get in there, you're like, nah. And they were like West African. And that just shows that, not, all people are the same. Because I went to a beautiful West African church. The only thing was, like I said in the previous video, a cultural difference. And this one was a West African church who are like cults. But then again, you have weird churches from West Africa who do some nasty things. So it's kind of heartbreaking that people go under the guise of the church and Christianity and then do some dirty, nasty things. Anyway, I went on a tangent there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, partnership. For me, like when I was younger, my prayer was for the Lord to send a God-fearing man. I always wanted to marry a God-fearing man, and I always wanted to be in ministry. Obviously, the way chaotic my life is and the way I talk sometimes, you'd be like, crazy lady. But I really wanted to go to Bible school. And I was hoping to meet a good man there who was planning to be a pastor or somebody in the church. But life doesn't always work like that. So there's still, like I said, I would like to go into ministry later on in life, because I am not ready, and the Lord's timing is the Lord's timing. It's perfect, but right now I need to grow and mature. And where I'm going in the health sector is where I'm meant to be, because I know there was a time where I went somewhere where my spirit was like, no, but I went anyway, and something bad happened. But anyway, yeah, I always used to pray for the Lord to bring into my life a God-fearing man. Where is he? Like seriously, where is he? I'm kidding. The Lord will bring whoever he deems and sees best for your life. Otherwise, he wouldn't put that verse where, I'll put it here, where he says that, the wife or the husband, the believer, is their covering and all of that. But yeah. But now my mindset has changed. You know what? As long as a person is a good man, he does not have to be Christian or believe in the Lord. As long as he loves me, I love him. He's a good, kind, caring, principled, together, good person. It doesn't matter. Oh my God, that was a pigeon. I've been feeding the birds and they keep expecting food when I come out. So cute. But yeah, as long as the man is a good man and he's loyal and kind, and respectful towards me and my family, I will in turn be the same. So I'm open-minded. Some people are God-fearing man all the way, but I'm like, if the Lord sends a man who is not Christian, I'm okay with that. As long as he's God ordained. He doesn't have to look the way I fantasized. He doesn't have to sound the way I fantasized. He doesn't have to be Mr. Pastor. As long as he's a good man who loves me and I love him, and the Lord has made it so, then I'm okay. There'll be some. I mean, I understand why Christians, date Christians, and it makes life easy. Believer. But sometimes, a person could be saved just by you being there. Could be a friend, and could be, someone you love. And speaking of love, because I was thinking about, how that weight off my shoulders of the baby making thing. No, that sounds weird. About, having children and getting pregnant has been lifted off me, because I just have to give it a year at the rate I'm going with weight loss, and I'll be okay. And that's a weight off my shoulders. Anyway, even though I've never been in a relationship, never, we exist, it doesn't mean I haven't had my share of romantic situations and love. Let's kind of roll back all the way to high school. So we moved to the UK just as I started high school, and I fell for, first puppy love, this guy who was trouble. He was a known troublemaker in class, but I still liked him. And I was this shy little book nerd, anime enthusiast, manga. I was the shy kid, introverted shy kid, into anime and manga. A bit of a nerd that spent her time in the library and in the art department and the DT department. Yeah. And his name was Brandon, and I liked him all the way through uni, but I wasn't allowed to date because I had to focus on my education, and just in our household I was too young. Whereas in the West, or in some households, when you're 13, you're old enough, blah blah blah. For me, it was like it was meant for when I finished university, or during university, as long as it didn't get in the way of my studies. But yeah, I really liked him for the longest time, and he was the major guy that I was into, and it was puppy love, and I thought it was real love, but I knew, no offense Brandon, but that his lifestyle and my lifestyle would clash, so. And then in uni, there's still Brandon, but in class, there's this guy, Angelos. If you ever see this Angelos, you're a cutie pie. And I didn't know that I had a type, because Caucasian guys, there was Victor, who I used to work with, who used to call me Chile International. I don't know why, but I take that too hard now. I like guys of all colors and races. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, or Asian, as long as you're a good person. But when it comes to white guys, I have a type. And I had a friend who was exclusively dating black guys, because when I told her I had a crush on Brandon, she was like, ugh. She was all into black guys, black beauty, Nubian kings, bronze men, and all of that. There are many gorgeous brothers out there. But the thing in our town is that they look like my brother. It's weird. And the other ones are I don't know, it doesn't click. But some of them look like my brother. I'm like, is it because we come from the same region that you look like my brother? It is weird. Anyway. Well, there was a point in high school, there was this cute guy too. A black guy, Caribbean or Jamaican. But that was short-lived. But anyway, my main focus or emotional attachment was Brandon. So if you ever come across my channel, Brandon, I already told you when we met last year, I used to like you, and you were chill. So that's adulthood. I never told him for the longest time. But yeah. And university, there was this guy from Greece. It was during my final year, that's when I kind of noticed him. But he kind of got with a girl, and I was like, oh, okay. But then again, when I say I had not limited, but my exposure to the world was, I'd say limited, because I was happy being at home like a hermit. And like I said, I didn't really have friends. I had friends in high school, towards the end of high school, but we all went to different sixth forms, and we all went to different universities, and we didn't keep in touch. And when I was in art class, I would spend time with the people in our class, but outside of class, everyone would be in their own little circles. So, as in close friends or regular friends, I didn't have. And I think it bothered me a tiny bit, but then again, I would be content. Not content, I'd be okay with being in my own space. Anyway, that was high school and sixth form and uni. And then work-wise, I was happy in a job. I didn't think about love. I didn't think about men. I was just living life. After the issue with university health-wise and other circumstances, I was happy for the fresh beginning and just a reset. But there were dudes who, African dudes, who would flirt, who would say, you know, you're cute. And I was like, wasn't ready mentally. But when I was mentally, I remember there was this one time, my first love. Not true love, but my first love. I'm still waiting for that. I literally took a month fasting and praying, saying, Father, please send me my husband. I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna be on a water fast and I'll only eat at night. And praying hard for the Lord to send my husband. And lo and behold, a month later, there was this very handsome, very gorgeous man who popped up in our workplace. I'm pretty sure he got some people's eyes too. But the thing is, he seemed like an answer to prayer, and they really fell hard, and they really was hopeful. But I'm not sure whether when he was working there, whether he was on break with his partner or he found a partner after, I don't know. But all I know is that after a little while, I was really shy and really awkward around him. My God, it's cringy even when I think about it. I mean, yeah, but he was like an answer to prayer to me. But then, when he was leaving, I saw there was a lady in his car, and I was, oh my God, that's his girl, that's his wife or girlfriend, who knows? And my heart broke. And then I found out that he left. And I was like, God, I prayed, and he appeared. And I remember the specific prayer that I prayed while I was crying my eyes out was, God, if he wasn't for me, why did you send him? And during the time that he was there, I was really extremely overworked. I was working in the laundry department, and that was one of the worst treatments I had working that care home. It was I don't know if people are doing it deliberately, but there was a ton of laundry, of linen, where you'd be it would be towering over you, and you'd be like, I can't do this. And then our head housekeeper was on holiday or was off because she was ill, I don't fully remember. And it's a two-man job. They were expecting miracles on a one-man schedule. So I was like a perfectionist. I still am, kind of. I've toned down a little bit, and I hated complaints, especially complaints that were petty. And when I made a mistake, I'd put the effort into fixing it and make sure that I don't do it again, or work at it, at doing the right thing as best as I could to my own ability. But then they'd say, oh, clothes are missing, oh, you put things in the wrong. I would triple, double, triple, quadruple check what I was doing. So at one point I found some clothes that were just on the outskirts of the care home. Then I knew that someone's messing with me. Because there are people like that. They would deliberately put clothes in another resident's room to make it look as if you're the one who's causing the issue. I even started putting a record of everything that was brought in for washing in terms of residents' clothes. I'm sorry, I hated complaints. I hated making mistakes. I really used to, if I made a mistake, I would put extra effort so that it doesn't happen again. But sometimes the things that they used to say were petty. Oh, you did this, or you did that, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, point being, the first man that I fell for was not for me, even if I prayed for him. And after that, he was the only, another pigeon wanting food. He was the only person who I really fell for while I worked there. And I worked there for years. So after that, I went on holiday. I mean, I took my annual leave because I was overworked, and plus that hit of him disappearing and leaving. And then another colleague who I really liked, who I got along well with, also just left up and at him, you know. And that colleague also had issues with like their mental health. So there was a part of me years after that felt guilty because I felt like I wasn't there for them. Even if they're a colleague, I really valued them and thought of them as a friend. But I felt guilty that I didn't do more to help them. So like later on, I think in 2021, when I was in a better like position and I reached out to them, I apologized to them. I saying if I had done anything that caused you any harm by not being there for you, although I didn't put out not being there for you, I'm sorry. Basically, it was eating at me because I also used to have anxiety and depression. And seeing her go through that, it bothered me a long time. But anyway, I got depressed for a while because I was like, God, it seemed like an answer. But it wasn't. There is another woman, and there I was. And even while I was working, people could tell I was depressed. And you know, some people like it when you're miserable. And other people come with the fake smiles, you know. And you could see other people are, you know, amused. But I bounced back. And you would have some guys flirting. But, you know, sometimes it doesn't. I swear, these birds are waiting for food. Sometimes it would, you know, it just wasn't the right... weren't the right people. And yeah, but there was this one person who left a bad taste in my mouth when I used to work night shifts. We were on the rehab unit and we had a student who was there for work experience or something. And when it was quiet and we'd done everything for the night, it was like a quiet point at night. We had done our documentation, checks and everything. You know, I decided to talk to them because at that time I was considering doing nursing, the access course to nursing, but they were in uni. So we were talking and we had anime in common. And when we talked about anime, I became more bubbly because it was a subject I loved and was knowledgeable about, and he was enthusiastic. And then there was this man who apparently had an interest. But because I was normally shy and introverted, but civil, and, you know, just shy. I did talk to people, but I was just shy, and I was really awkward around guys. But still talked. Still awkward. So I wasn't as, you know, bubbly, though I was with this student, who was a guy, as I was with the other members of staff. And then all I found is that this man had reported me to the manager, not even the nurse in charge, the manager, for talking to a student when it was quiet and making conversation. So I was like, okay, you're that type. You're being petty just because I talked to someone and seemed bubbly because we had something in common. And then after that, I was like, you know, I was still civil, but I was like, not in this lifetime. So after that, I mean, there was this guy who used to flirt with everybody, calling them my darling, my wife, my waifu. And he'd go, you know, it was a bit weird. No one had ever called me beautiful or my darling. I never, you know, other than my family. And I know he wasn't serious. He called everybody beautiful. And even right now, my family call me beautiful. Maybe it's because I haven't been out much. I don't know. Anyway, one of his colleagues, another one who was studying nursing in university. Yeah, just because I haven't dated don't mean there were no love stories. Had an interest. But again, there was just something off. And no hate. there was just something off, basically. And he asked me out, and I said no. And then after that, he started avoiding me and clinging to this lady who had the same pattern. Because like in 2020, there was this guy who, I don't know whether people are saying, oh, she will like you or she has a crush on you, and I didn't. And then I think just because of that, no. Some people used to say, you know, like stuff, and they would automatically cling to this lady, and it was like the lady liked the attention, and it was like trying to get you jealous, but I was like oblivious. It's just now that I'm thinking back that I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. But yeah, I think that was the first time I had to say no to a guy. There was just something off. And then when I was looking to go into teaching, there was this other guy, Michael. I'm so sorry. He was younger than me, and at my age, it was weird. The age gap was a bit weird, but he was very enthusiastic. He'd always pinch my cheeks. He'd always be playful, and that was new to me. But the only trouble is that he was younger than me. I mean, if I met him now, the age wouldn't really matter, but at that time, we were both young, and it was weird. And yeah, but even after that, he was cool. Even after I said no, he continued being civil, he continued being playful, and he continued still pursuing. And then I had a crush on him after all of that. But the age gap was a bit weird. So why am I telling you this? I don't know, I just felt like sharing it because apparently, even though I've never dated, there's still been some instances of what? Romance. And then after that, I changed jobs. And at that job, I was like at that age where I was like already putting my life together. I'm looking into teaching, but also like, looking for a man. And, well, not active looking, but hoping I meet someone. And, I had a crush on one of the PE teachers. But he didn't give me the time of day until I started wearing makeup, because like that is when I decided to like stop wearing makeup completely. I went on this natural trek, and he didn't pay attention to me until I started wearing makeup. Again, I had acne scars, and I know some people are entitled to their own opinion on whatever, but that hurt. I put a picture here of like my acne scars at one point. I've cleared a lot. I still have some discoloration and pigmentation that I'm working on, but yeah, that hurt. But it didn't hurt that much. That still hurt. And just the people there weren't very nice. They were very stuck up, very pompous, very I didn't really miss out on anything. And then after that, I went into hospital. And once I came out of hospital, it just felt like there was a rush, meaning I started panicking about, am I gonna meet a man? Am I well? The years are gonna go by. Who am I gonna meet? Blah, blah, blah. It's just everything was getting to me for a little while. And I felt like there was a rush. But now, I'm taking each day as it comes. And God willing, whoever I end up with, whoever I meet, as long as he's a good man, that's all that matters. And as long as he's okay with the spiritual crazy malarkey. Because I'm a spiritual crazy malarkey lady who believes in demons, devils, and what? Angels and all of that. So that will never change. I wake up 3 a.m. in the middle of the night, speaking in tongues, whatever tongues the Lord gives me. I'm praying for you, I'm praying for our babies, I'm praying for our family, praying for your father, praying for your mother. And saying, Lord Jesus, this prayer warrior is what? Giving our entire family, fighting demons and devils who dare what? Come and mess with me. And I'll be your what? The shield and sword, the spirit. I always pray for you. Lay hands on you. do miracles if the Lord. I'm so sorry. Basically, as long as he's okay with the fact that they believe in the supernatural, we're cool. I can tell them funny stories too. And yeah, basically, even right now, looking for a boyfriend, looking for a partner for the long term, leading to marriage. And even though, like, a couple of years back, I was thinking, my life had, I thought my life was ruined. And even when it was at a standstill, in the back of my mind and sometimes in the front of my mind, I'd be thinking, who's gonna love me? How am I gonna start a family? I just felt like I had to rush because I just felt like the years were going by. It's been 4 years, but like, still felt like a lot. I felt like I lost a lot of time, but I'm like, take each day at a time. The more you panic, the more you're likely to make mistakes, and the more you're likely to rush into things. So, I know that whoever I date right now, as long as we're on the same page, because I'm not young anymore, where, you date someone and then they're just there for, let's see where this goes and whatever. No. If we're gonna be a thing, it's for the long term. I'm looking for you in you as a husband, and I know that scares some people. But I don't have the luxury to be like dating for the sake of dating or looking into like where to go, whatever. And I'm thinking of what babies later on. I'm not ready right now, but later. And I want to be in a position where I can have a healthy pregnancy. So I'm working on myself slowly. And I'm having joy, being able to do that and actually see results. And work-wise, still in the process. It's important for a lady to be like independent as well. My mother always told me to find a job that can sustain me. I can't always rely on my husband or my boyfriend. I also want to be a woman who can be resilient. It doesn't mean I challenge his authority as a man. It sounds a bit traditional. Some people might think it's backwards. But my husband or my partner is the head of the house. I am African, and you have that tradition where the male is the breadwinner. But my mother, she also used to work as a nurse. My father was the breadwinner, and we just had that traditional, whatever. And I'm also looking for a strong man too who will take the lead. I'm not like, downplaying myself, but it's just how I am. That's just how God intended it to be. I hope that's okay. But we're like, treat each other as equals, but I will acknowledge you as the head of the house, the head of our family. Just as the Lord is the head of the family, you are the one who's in authority under him. That will be your support. I'll be your shield while you're my sword. I'll be your shoulder. You'll be my hug. I'll be your boobies. You'll be my biceps. I'll be your waistline. You'll be my chest. I'll be your butt. You'll be my thighs. I don't know what I'm going on about. Yeah. What else was I gonna talk about? No idea. But that's where I am. Those were my anxieties. Childbirth, pregnancy, partner. Because I honestly felt like after being in a mental health ward, hospital, guys would be a bit judgmental. I'm able to disclose this on the, on the internet for people to just see things from someone who's had a mental breakdown and how they, pick themselves up, or how they, just my story basically. To encourage people as well to not to be afraid and not to let people judge them to the point where it's detrimental to your mental health. If you have to go there, there's nothing wrong with it. The people there do their job. Some people, I'm not gonna say all, some people don't, but most people do. And I want to be one of those people who, even in the small number who may be not doing their job, be that one person, like the nurse at the court that I was on where they didn't treat me well, who kept me together, who guided me, and who was my ray of sunshine. because without her, I would have acted out. She told me how to behave, she encouraged me, and she fought for me. Because she was the one who was pushing for them to leave me because I was sectioned. Not because I was going ballistic, like I said, but because I was just confused, delirious, and literally in child form. She's my inspiration. She's my goal. And I hope to be that to someone at one point in mental health. Oh yeah, my relationship with food has improved. That is why I feel like this dark being that was on me. I didn't realize how depressed I was over my weight, the fact that I couldn't eat healthily, the fact that I was worried about childbirth and pregnancy, the fact that even last year, like I went ballistic, but in the back of my mind, I don't know. It's like 2024, I got my life together, basically, as best as I could. I wasn't optimal, but like as I am now. But I was working as best as I could and was looking to go into teaching. So I was getting my life together. But now, I'm a lot better than I was previously. And I know that this time my life will get better. But yeah. I was just getting my life together. And the thing about the ones who say, you know, be moving in your calling, blah, blah, blah. It's not that easy. If there's a church that has counseling, God bless them. But for those churches that do not, be considerate. Sit down, talk to them, give options to help them out. In Africa, we have, relatives who can speak for you. I don't know about the West. We don't really have many relatives here. So there's no one who can put in a good word, and it's not like we have loads of friends. So you have no choice but to mingle, but if you're working, it's kind of difficult. That's why I'm happy we made our group in the anime community, Obviously we have to put like guidelines and all of that. But you never know, you could meet your partner. Your other half, your best friend for life. Through those meetups. For me, it's just it's very personal to me because I used to pray again for God-fearing friends. Do I have God-fearing friends? No. They're a crazy cult. I thought they were my friends. They ended up being crazy. And I don't mean that applies to everybody. Even in church, I didn't build I felt welcome, but friendship-wise, nothing, it wasn't something that was built. But I've got friends who are atheists and who don't really believe in God, and some of them who do. But the closest ones to me are not Christian believing. They're just normal, but they're the sweetest, kindest, most relatable people I've ever met. So sometimes when they say, oh, pray for godly friends, it doesn't mean, God will send them to you just because, someone told you that you have to. I'm not saying, hang out with bad people. We're called to be in the world, not of it, not to be in the world system, but it doesn't mean, isolate yourself, be holier than thou and say, do not mingle with, it doesn't mean the people of the world, doesn't mean, non-Christians. It just means those who, I don't even know what to say. All I know is they're good people out there. Maybe I'm talking about the extreme people. Maybe it's because I've just been exposed to, certain people like that. The friends I have are a gift. The people I've met are a gift, Christian or not. I know that sounds like, common sense. But some places, they will, be holier than thou and say friends only, blah, blah, blah. Christian friends, pray for Christian friends. It's good to have Christian friends. But sometimes God works in mysterious ways that He gives you the right friends that you need, who don't look like what you prayed for. And that's my case. And speaking of friends, my bestie and I, previously the one who used to go on about, do not talk anymore, do not spend time together anymore. Her life got too complicated and too toxic for me to the point where, I was already going through a lot last year. And her problems were a stress factor for me. And I literally, she was carrying bad energy. I tried, and I just said I need to distance myself. Even if you love some people, but if you know you love people, but if it's causing you, your health and your spiritual health, hurt, sickness, you have to take a step back. And she's the one introduced me to shisha. I didn't know shisha had tobacco. And I remember I told myself that I would stop. I'd only take the light stuff. She did the heavy duty stuff. And that was a distressor. So whenever, we'd go out for shisha, that would be time spent together. But, there was one final time where I said I'll stop because I didn't want to. But then there was a time where she was really depressed and all of that, and I said, I'll keep on just for you. But then there was a time where I said, after that, I just had to be stringent. So whenever she ordered shisha, I'd say no, and we just have a meal and talk and watch a movie. I miss that. But the friends I have now are enriching to my soul. There's good, clean. I think if you're sensitive to that, you can tell there's some kind of if someone's going through stuff and there's a lot of toxicity in them, there's like a smog. And in the spirit, you can see a literal dark cloud. And if you can feel, it causes your soul sickness. You feel tangibly sick being around them because they're going through so much and there's so much toxicity and negativity. But the friends I hang out with, it's like clean air. And I feel refreshed whenever I hang out with them. Whereas before with my best friend, I felt drained. Much love to her, but there was a lot that I had going on and I couldn't deal with her stuff either. Too. I tried, but I've got healing because I've had good friends with good energy. We all have our issues, but we all manage. We listen to each other when we talk. My group are my friends. Our regulars are our friends, although I wish that what specters would come out. We've got so many people, but no one wants to come out. I guess people have jobs, but they can at least come out for a coffee on a weekend. It's not like they're working every weekend. But then again, the close ones we have been a blessing and a godsend. So I got my prayer answered for friends, but just not the friends that I envisioned. All of us are in agreement that it's been lonely in your adult life, especially when you're working, especially when you have mental health. So we keep each other company. Even on the bus when I recruit people, invite them, especially people from different countries. We have one friend, our birthday boy from February, from South Africa, my African brother, Muzungu African brother, who was born in Zimbabwe but moved to Zambia, my homeland, and then went to South Africa, but South African. My milky South African brother. I am chocolate. He's milk, and he's cool. What was I on about? Oh yeah, he said this was, this is the first time he had a birthday with people since he moved to the UK. Finding friends has been difficult.